I'd like to reconvene the May the 10th, 2011 meeting of the Newport Beach City Council. May we have roll call, please?
The record will reflect that all members of council are present.
And Mr. City Attorney, is there a report from closed session?
The City Council met in closed session to discuss the matters reflected on its open session agenda, and no reportable action was taken.
Very good. We would now like to do the Pledge of Allegiance that we'll all stand for and stay standing for the Reverend Peter D. Hayes to do our invocation. And the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Rosansky.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do invite you into a prayerful mood. Wondrous God, fountain of life and source of all goodness, you have made all that is and given us all that we have. We are grateful and thank you for the people of this beautiful place and for able and responsible leaders in the mutual regard which forms our civic life. Give us, we pray, your spirit of peace, justice, charity, wisdom, humor, and grace, that we may find with one another the fulfillment of our common humanity here in this lovely city. For you are gracious, great lover of souls, and to you we give glory and honor, now and forever.
Thank you, Reverend. All right, we have a few presentations to start with this evening, the first of which is the Poppy Week proclamation. This is the, I believe, Kendall Madsen on behalf of the American Legion Auxiliary, and Miss Poppy, Rachel Heidemann, will be down. Let me read the proclamation to start with. Whereas nearly 1 million members of the American Legion Auxiliary, the world's largest patriotic service organization of women, are asking every elected and appointed official of the local, state, and national level to wear a poppy on the observance of Memorial Day, May 31st, 2011. And whereas the poppy honors the millions of Americans who have willingly served and who are currently serving our nation, all too many who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And whereas the poppy also honors the hospitalized and disabled veterans who make these red, handcrafted flowers. The poppy continues to provide a financial and therapeutic benefit to those veterans who constructed them, as well as benefiting thousands of other veterans and their families by the revenues collected from poppy distributions. And whereas in battlefields of Belgium during World War I, poppies grew wild amid the ravages of war. The overturned soils of battle enabled the poppy seeds to be covered, allowing them to grow and forever serve as a reminder of the bloodshed of war. Now, therefore, I, Michael Henn, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, do proclaim the week of May 15th to May 21st, 2011, as Poppy Week in the city of Newport Beach, California, and urge all residents to recognize the importance of the poppy and what it represents, a symbol of the price of war and the sacrifices of millions. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Newport Beach to be affixed this 10th day of May, 2011.
Thank you, Mayor.
Would you care to make some comments?
Yes, please. Mayor Henn, City Council members, my name is Kendall Madsen, President of the American Legion Auxiliary, Unit 291 here in Newport Beach. I would like to introduce our Miss Poppy, Rachel Heidemann, who is going to read to you the poem In Flanders Field. She would also like to present each of you with a boutonniere made of poppies and would like to request that she have her picture taken with our mayor.
In Flanders Fields. In Flanders Fields the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row on row. That marks our place in the sky, the larks still bravely singing. Fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved, and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up the quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. But if ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you, Rachel. I'd be very, very honored to have my picture taken with you.
Paparazzi here.
With a pretty girl, two pretty girls.
Thank you very much.
Kendall and Rachel, and to the American Legion Auxiliary, thank you so much. Our next proclamation is for Relay for Life. Peggy Fort for the Relay for Life Committee is here, and I'll read another proclamation then. Whereas the American Cancer Society is the nationwide community-based volunteer health organization dedicated to eliminating cancer as a major health problem by preventing cancer, saving lives, and diminishing suffering through research, education, advocacy, and service. And whereas the American Cancer Society is the largest non-governmental funder of cancer research, having spent more than $3.5 billion since 1946, and playing a role in nearly every cancer breakthrough in recent history, including funding researchers with cutting-edge ideas early in their careers, 44 of whom have gone on to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And whereas the Relay for Life is the most successful fundraising event in the world, as the signature fundraising and advocacy activity of the American Cancer Society, raising over $4 billion since its inception, with over 7,000 grassroots events, honoring cancer survivors and remembering those lost to the disease. And whereas Relay for Life began in the city of Newport Beach on May 7th, 17th, and 18th, 2002, dedicated to supporting the mission of the American Cancer Society in our community and raising over $1 million in its first 10 years. And whereas Relay for Life of Newport Beach will celebrate its 10th anniversary in 2011, on May 21st and 22nd, as our community will once again come together to celebrate, remember, and fight back by raising funds to eradicate cancer. And whereas, at its core, the American Cancer Society is a grassroots force of 3 million passionate volunteers at a national and local level who tirelessly seek to save lives from cancer, working with lawmakers everywhere to make this world a healthier place to live, and rallying communities around the globe to join the fight to create a world with less cancer and more birthdays. And as a result, more than 11 million people in America who have had cancer and countless more who have avoided it will be celebrating birthdays this year. Now, therefore, I, Michael Henn, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, do hereby proclaim May 21st and 22nd, 2011 as Newport Beach Relay for Life Days, celebrating 10 years and counting in the city of Newport Beach, California, and invite all city residents to participate in the 10th birthday celebration of Relay for Life of Newport Beach at the Newport Harbor High School on May 21st and 22nd, 2011. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Newport Beach to be affixed this 10th day of May, 2011. Peggy?
Thank you, Mayor Henn and members of council. On behalf of the American Cancer Society and the Relay for Life Newport Beach Leadership Committee, we would like to extend a sincere thank you to the City Council and City staff for your active participation and invaluable partnership in Relay for Life. In these difficult economic times, nonprofit organizations must rely even more on grassroots fundraising campaigns like Relay for Life and partnerships like ours to remain strong. In the past 10 years, our community has raised, as you said, over $1 million to support the mission of the American Cancer Society, one donation at a time. This is a milestone year, and our community volunteers have come together to set some serious fundraising goals for our 10th birthday event, because we're serious to find a cure. So far, Newport Beach has already sent an event record for most teams registered, and we hope to be the top fundraising event countywide. Currently, we're neck and neck with Mission Viejo and Huntington Beach. So I urge the residents of Newport Beach to get involved in Relay through participating, making a donation of any size, or attending the event. Because everyone is touched by cancer, we invite the entire Newport Beach community to come out to Newport Harbor High School track May 21st and 22nd to experience Relay, to take in some or all of the activities that our committee has worked very hard to plan for 24 hours they will never forget. Newport Beach will come together to celebrate, remember, and fight back to cancer and create a world with more birthdays. For more information, you can check out relayforlife.org/newportbeach.ca or find us on Facebook at Relay for Life Newport Beach. Thank you, and we will see you at Relay for Life.
Thank you, Peggy.
And over onto my right side, Peggy and I are co-chairing the event, and this is our leadership team that helped organize the event this year, and they've been fabulous.
This is certainly one of the premier events that the city supports, and our city staff is tremendously involved on a volunteer basis in this, and so I think it's just great, and congratulations to everyone. The city council will also be involved with the Council Critters team at Newport Harbor High School, and so we'll look forward to seeing all of you out there, even all you surfer dudes. Okay. The next item is a presentation regarding the Second Harvest Food Bank annual Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive. You don't look like Josh.
No, I'm Ann DeMarco.
Okay, please.
A volunteer with Second Harvest Food Drive, and I want to talk to you today about the silent epidemic of hunger that we're having in Orange County right now. This is not Haiti or Bangladesh. This is wealthy Orange County. Fortunately, there's an event coming up that will make it easy for our residents to help and to donate food. We are partners with the United States Post Office for a nationwide Stamp Out Hunger food drive, which will take place this Saturday, May 14th. On that date, residents will be asked to place a bag with non-perishable food next to their mailbox. The post office will pick up the bags and they will deliver them to Second Harvest Food Bank. We will then deliver them to the 470 charities in Orange County. This food drive is very timely. Our warehouses are almost empty of donated food. There has been such an increased need because of the recession and because of unemployment. Right now in Orange County, 1 out of 5 people needs help with food. 35% of these people are children. There are hungry families that are our neighbors. I want to tell you why I have been such a fan of Second Harvest Food Bank for the past 27 years. In our society, so much food is wasted and thrown out. Second Harvest has refrigerated trucks that picks up leftover food from restaurants and from grocery stores. When people donate money to Second Harvest, we buy in bulk from the United States government, and we can provide 3 meals for every dollar donated. There is also a fun way to donate online at a virtual Stamp Out Hunger food drive. The site on the internet for that is the website www.feedoc.org. Second Harvest has donated farmland, and we have volunteers that plant and harvest vegetables and fruit. We are then able to provide nutritious after-school snacks for children in our Kids Cafe program. We also have a mobile pantry that delivers nutritious food to seniors and others without transportation. I hope you will help by spreading the word and by placing a bag of food next to your mailbox on Saturday, May 14th. You can learn more about the food drive or Second Harvest on the website feedoc.org. Thank you so much for allowing me the time to talk to you about this worthy cause. I left a flyer for council members. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming down. And next, one of my favorite people, Krisztina Scheeff, will come up to tell us about a program for the 1st Battalion, 1st Marines, a drive for the benefit of them. So, Krisztina, would you please?
Well, thank you for calling me your favorite person.
Just,
I'm sorry,
just,
one of
just
them.
one of them.
First of all, go Relay. Woohoo! I was very happy to see everybody here. Honorable Mayor and council members and city staff, thanks so much for having me here, and thanks for the full house, too. I love it. Last time I was here on behalf of the 1st Battalion, 1st Marines, I think it was in December, when I had the honor to be joined by Sergeant Major Henry and Lieutenant Colonel Watson. There is a reason I'm here, standing here alone today, because they are deployed. It was in February 2011, it was actually end of February, when more than 1,500 Marines deployed out of San Diego Naval Base on 3 ships, the USS Green Bay, the USS Comstock, and the Boxer, for their 2011 Western Pacific deployment. We can't share details on when they return, but it'll be sometime at the end of this year. They're somewhere in the waters on the other side of the earth. So we do a lot of events for the Marines, and while they're deployed, one of the things they really look forward is care packages. It's a very simple thing, but care packages bring the comforts of home to our Marines. So I haven't served. I really don't know any. I just have friends who serve, but just imagine running out of, I don't know, sunscreen in the middle of the desert, or maybe wanting to eat something else than MREs, and when you're on the boat in the middle of the ocean, well, really the shipments from us and friends and family that helps them to get these comforts of home. The relation goes back in 2003 when Newport Beach adopted the 1st Battalion, 1st Marines from Camp Pendleton. And as I said, we've done a lot of events, Mess Night and Beach Challenge for them. And it's while they're deployed, it's time for the care package project, I call it. And those of you who know me, it started out as a small project. I started with the Newport Beach Junior Chamber of Commerce, and then as I mentioned to more and more friends, they all said, well, I want to be involved. And I said, well, sure, let's make it big, so might as well make it a community event. I did place some flyers out there outside because what I'm looking for is if there are 1,500 Marines in the 1-1, and I'm thinking if we can all get together and maybe those of you up there and in the room can donate one item off the list, and they're very simple items. A pair of socks. Believe it or not, they wear boots 24/7. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to smell that sock the next day. So maybe they do need some new ones. Or a lot of times they cannot take showers for days, and what they use for a shower is a box of wet wipes, baby wet wipes. So we send them wet wipes. AA or AAA batteries where their little fan on somewhere in the middle of the boat helps them to cool down, or protein bars, any food that does not perish, it's greatly needed. As I said, it started out as a small project. It turned into a little bit bigger. So with that said, all this info is on the website. It's 11marines.com, O-N-E Marines.com, or you can call 949-385-1110. But what makes it easy with our supporters, like the Bungalow Restaurant, you can just walk in there and drop off all your items between now, May 31st, and I'll go and pick it up. Then first week of June, we're going to package it. Some of the other drop-off locations are OC Fitness Solutions. That's in One Corporate Plaza in Fashion Island. And our other location is the OC Wine Mart in Irvine. Also, one of our big supporters is the Newport Beach Independent and their office in Corona Del Mar, where you can also drop off items. With that said, these are the items we need. Oh, one of our last week actually came on board is the Newport Beach Police Department, so a big thanks to Chantel Sherwood and Lloyd Wiesenen, because the police department is now collecting items also, so thank you to you. I wasn't planning to do this, but today I was at Ensign High School, and we do need all these items that I listed that are on the website, but we also need letters. Very simple notes thanking our Marines on what they do. And one of my friends, Gwen Blankenship, she's a teacher in Ensign High School. She offered to have her kids write some letters and also collect items. She asked each child to bring in one thing, one pack of razors, one pack of wet wipes, and write some letters. And I'm not going to read this today, but I picked up today, I don't know if anybody's kid goes to Ensign here. My hat's off to you as parents. I picked up these 100-some letters today from Ensign High School, intermediate school. And if you don't mind, I just wanted to read one or two because I actually went through and read them all. My heart was crying somewhere. One of them says, Dear Marine, my name is Dominic. I live in Newport Beach, California, and attend Ensign Intermediate School. On weekdays, I like to play baseball, but on the weekends, I play airsoft and hang out with my friends. You have no idea what you defending our country means to us. Thanks to you, we can sleep at night knowing nobody will invade our home front. I imagine the foreign country you are fighting must be harsh, but at least you still have the love of your country. I hope you know real courage like you. I hope I know real courage like you when I grow up. Hurrah, sincerely, Dominic. These guys are 12 and 13 years old. Dear Marine, hi, my name is Andrew, and I'm a 13-year-old boy that goes to Ensign. In my free time, I play basketball and softball. I applaud you for fighting the country that you and I love so much. I get scared when I think of bad people. I highly appreciate your bravery. I wish I could have that trait. Love, thanks. You are the man. Great job. I'll just have one more. My name is Emily, and I'm 12 years old. I go to Ensign Intermediate School. I do ballet and taekwondo. That's a good combo. Thank you so much for protecting my family and country. I know that you are not in ideal conditions and miss your family. You are making a huge sacrifice, so thank you. And one of the guys wrote, Hello, my name is Reed. I surf and play basketball. Oh, he surfs. I really appreciate your bravery to defend against unkind people who want to hurt us. You're the man. For taking out the fear in my heart. For that I love you. Thank you. Marines are champs. I just love, love, love this letter. So I thank them, and if you guys want to help, again, the website is 11marines.com, O-N-E, marines.com, and you can fly the flyer there. And as the saying goes, and I always gets me this, freedom is not free, but the Marines will pay most of your share. Thank you so much again, and I truly appreciate all your help throughout the years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Krisztina. If you do as good a job for the Marines as you did for Relay for Life, I'm sure they'll be well taken care of. Thank you. Okay, that will take care of our presentations for this evening. May we hear the notice to the public?
The city provides a yellow sign-in card to assist in the preparation of the minutes. The completion of the card is not required in order to address the council. Speakers must limit comments to 5 minutes on agenda items. The council has a discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items. As a courtesy, please turn cell phones off or set them in the silent mode. Now is the time for council announcements or matters which council members would like placed on a future agenda for discussion, action, or report.
Thank you. Councilmember Hill.
Nothing.
Councilmember Rosansky.
Nothing, thank you.
And Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
I'm going to make up for them. May is National Bike Month, and the Bike Committee is having a family bike ride this Sunday, May 15th, leaving at 8 a.m. from the Oasis Senior Center, going down to the Wedge. We'll have a police escort part of the way at least. Or that's what he said. Somebody was coming along. And you need to bring fare for the money for the ferry. And you want more information, you can go to bikenewportbeach.org. As far as my fellow council members, the Bike Committee is thinking of putting on a cyclovia. Those of you who read the Times know that the L.A. Closed down part of a major thoroughfare to cars for a day and had bikes and pedestrians and skateboarders and everything else having a great deal of time. And our idea is to do it in conjunction with Costa Mesa and do it on 17th Street. So unless I have just an initial reaction of how that's the worst idea I've ever heard of, what we will do is do some initial planning and come back to council when we have some dollars attached to it.
Sounds good to me.
All right. And finally, I went to one of the innumerable meetings that we go to. This one was put on by MODOC, by California Forward. And they are doing something called Smart Government, trying to make California function. And they're putting together, they've got money from several foundations, and they're putting together ideas. And they want your ideas and your comments on the ideas that they already have. So if you're interested in trying to fix California, you can go to CAFWD, in other words, California Forward, org/framework. You too can solve our problems in Sacramento.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Daigle.
Yes, the city held its annual Oasis volunteer recognition lunch, and our volunteers really play a big role in making our very popular Oasis work. We have volunteers from greeters at the door to the gift office to the travel office. Apparently the travel office is a big money generator for Oasis. And then also volunteers who make phone calls on a daily basis to seniors in our community that are confined to their homes. So the lunch was wonderful, and it was just so nice to see so many active and vibrant seniors enjoying life and enjoying our new Oasis Senior Center. And within our city budget, there's actually a proposed funding increase to expand our programs at Oasis. And then secondly, this is the time of year that our yacht clubs have their openings. And I have to say that Newport Harbor Yacht Club had the best weather. It was that Sunday, May 1. And there was just some amazing boats out there. And a couple thousand people from the community showed up. And among those recognized is Kathy Wolcott from our legal staff. And it turns out Kathy is an award-winning sailor. She lives here in Newport Beach. So it was a great time. Just an awesome day, and it's just so great to see people transitioning into all the summer activities. So thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Curry.
Well, first of all, it was great to get out to see many of you at the Newport Beach Film Festival, at many of the events there. It was another great a program put on by the Film Festival, and people from all over the country were here to enjoy Newport Beach and our great city. Like Councilmember Daigle, I joined her along with Councilmember Gardner for the 89th opening of the Balboa Yacht Club on Sunday, and they also had a great time and a great tradition here in the city. And then on Friday of last week, I was able to represent the city at the opening of the Black Star and Frost jewelry store just next to 333 over on Bayside. I encourage you to go and spend a lot of money. I think they're going to significantly enhance the sales tax generation in the city, but it was a great opening, and so we congratulate Alfredo Molina and Nelson Holdo, the two executives who have brought that store to Newport Beach. Some of you know that I'm on the County Parks Commission, and at the old county courthouse through August 5th is a new exhibit that kicked off last Friday as well, called On Location, Orange County in Silent Film. And if you would like to see Buster Keaton rowing on Newport Bay, or Theda Bara has the original Cleopatra, which was filmed here in Newport Beach, or some of the great old pirate films that were done in Newport Bay back in the 19-teens and the 1920s. It's a great exhibit, and I encourage you to go and check it out.
How long? When's that
It's
over?
going till August 5th at the old courthouse in downtown Santa Ana. And then finally on tomorrow, Wednesday, May 11th, I will be doing a presentation on the Newport Beach budget at Speak Up Newport at, I guess, 5:30 at the Newport Beach Country Club. So if you're interested at all, I encourage you to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Do you remember any of the premieres of those films that you were talking about?
Keith, is it at the Newport Beach Country Club or the Newport Beach?
Newport Beach Yacht Club. I'm sorry, excuse me. Thank you. No, I don't remember where I was yesterday, Mike. You can tell.
Okay, Councilmember Selledge.
Yeah, I have a couple of announcements. This weekend, on Sunday, May the 15th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. along the South Bayfront Promenade on Balboa Island is going to be the annual Balboa Island Art Walk. It's the premier showcase for talented local artists, and it marks the start of the summer season on Balboa Island. It's going to feature artists exhibiting paintings, fine jewelry, blown glass, sculpture, photography. There'll be music scattered along the boardwalk. I think it stretches from Marine Avenue down to where the Balboa Ferry is. Also, Art Walk posters and T-shirts will be available for purchase at Diamond and South Bayfront. So if you have an interest in art or fine jewelry, be sure and come out and see the Balboa Island Art Walk. Also, we all know of the fine community center in Newport Coast and the Oasis Senior Center, but Balboa Island has a little gem that's probably not as well known in the city called the Carol Beek Center. It's a community center for Balboa Island and the rest of the city. And it's gone under a complete renovation. That renovation is now complete. And on Friday, May 20th, from 5 to 7:30 p.m., there's going to be a grand reopening with the barbecue. The barbecue's free. The city's done a fabulous job remodeling and renovating this center. It's used a lot by folks on Balboa Island. It's used for a lot of community programming. There's going to be drawings, music, information on the programming that's going to be provided in the Beek Center. It'll be a great event, but parking's going to be tight there, so if you can, bike over, take the ferry over, but parking will probably be tight. But anyway, come on out and join us. Again, that's May 20th from 5 to 7:30 p.m. at the Carol Beek Center in Balboa Island.
Very good. Thank you, Ed. Well, in case you hadn't guessed by now, the months of April and May are very busy months here in Newport Beach, and it's a mark of the vibrancy of our city that we have so many things going on. I have a few announcements to add to the list that you've already heard. First off, I was very happy to participate in the closing night ceremonies for the film festival over here at the Lido Theater, and but more so to participate in the Pop Goes Lido event right across the street in Lido Village, where Riviera Magazine sponsored a bunch of sort of pop-up retail stores and a very nice party. It was a great way to close the film festival, which I understand had record attendance this year. And then on Saturday, May 7th, I held a Meet the Mayor gathering at the Community Youth Center in Corona del Mar. We had a bit of a problem in that the March of Dimes, it was a baby walk, I think, that was on that Saturday morning, and prevented me from getting to my meeting to start with. And I hope anyway, a number of other people that tried to get there and couldn't quite. So we'll have to announce another location for the residents of Corona del Mar to meet the mayor on another Saturday. But in any event, those that did show up were very enthusiastic about talking to me. As to upcoming events, on Wednesday, May the 11th, the Chamber of Commerce is hosting their annual dinner at the Dunes Resort beginning at 5 p.m. On Thursday, May 12th, the Neighborhood Revitalization Committee will meet at 4 p.m. here in Council Chambers. That's the group that's working on certain areas, getting certain areas of our city revitalized, and so I invite all the public to attend. Likewise, on Wednesday, May 18th, the Tidelands Management Committee also meets. That's at 4 p.m. at the Oasis Center to talk about our plans for furthering the improvement and maintenance of our tidelands here in the city. On May 19th, Leadership Tomorrow hosts an all-day event at the Central Library. I have not been to that before. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be on a panel at noontime, and so invite anyone interested in attending that. With regard to Friday, May 20th, the Exchange Club of Newport Beach is sponsoring once again the Field of Flags in Lower Castaways Park, a great event to honor our veterans. There is a ceremony at noon on that day, all invited. And then, as mentioned before, Saturday and Sunday, the 21st and 22nd, the Relay for Life event at Newport Harbor High School. So lots going on all the time in this city, and it's a real strength. And with that, may we have the consent calendar?
All matters listed under consent calendar, items 1 through 8 are considered by council to be routine and will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. The council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommending an action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the council votes on the motion unless members of the council, staff, or the public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Members of the public who wish to discuss a consent calendar item should come forward to the lectern upon invitation by the mayor and state their name and item number. If the optional sign-in card has been completed, it should be placed in the box provided at the podium.
Thank you very much. Okay, items to pull. Councilmember Davis.
Yes, number 4.
All right. Councilmember Curry. No items. And Councilmember Selich.
I have no items.
Councilmember Hill.
Item number 3, please.
And Councilmember Rosansky.
None, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
None.
And I have none.
I would move items 1 through 8 with the exceptions of 3 and 4 of the consent calendar.
Second.
All right. Madam Clerk, would you read the necessary titles? Oh, I'm sorry. Does anyone from the audience have any items to pull? Don't see any.
The
Now, can
items
you read
that
the
were
titles?
pulled do have the ordinance and resolution titles. So
Okay.
we have to wait after discussion. So.
All right. Great. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Item number 3, Councilmember Hill.
I have one question of staff with respect to 3. Given the state of California's drive for the understanding and importance of ADA standards, architects may not even renew their license without taking a certain number of classes to focus on those. And the nuisance lawsuits that we achieve with those, I'm wondering why in the amendment of the Building and Fire Board of Appeals we have dropped the members representing the physically disabled.
Actually, Mr. Hill, I appreciate the fact that you pulled this and was, unfortunately, I had a lot on my plate today and didn't get a chance to talk to more people about this. I'd actually like to, unless there's any problem with staff, to continue this because in addition to your concerns, I've had other suggestions about how this might better conform, and I'd really like the new community development director to take a look at it. And I'm hoping that won't throw into confusion any of your timing for appointing members to it. But I think she starts on the 23rd. This is the first thing I'll toss her way is to take a look at this.
In that case, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move continuance of this item.
Second.
All right. We have a move and a second to continue the item. I suppose we do still need to read the title. No?
Public comments first.
Okay. Do we have public comments on this item? Okay.
Yeah, there's no reason
No,
to.
no need to read the title?
No, sir.
All right. So, please vote. 2 weeks?
2 weeks. Okay.
I'll have her work on it early.
Okay. Motion,
Well, do you need more time?
If there's no hurry, I'd rather have it moved to the 10th then. Thank you.
All right. Move to the 10th.
motion carries unanimously.
All right. Item number 4, Councilmember Daigle.
Yes, while I won't be supporting the ban on the leaf blowers, I do have some suggestions and questions about its implementation and to try to make it as workable as possible. And the first is on the opt-out with the homeowners associations. If we can notify each of the associations and let them know, what the ban is, when it goes in effect, who it applies to, and what the opt-out procedure would be, and if there's a central contact at the city that they can inform as to that they've opted out. I think that might, I don't know what your thoughts would be, if it might make it work better. Okay, and I think we have about 130 homeowners associations. And then the second question is, how does the staff envision this as enforced? I mean, it seems as if you get 10, 20 calls a day. I mean, what kind of burdens does it place on the staff? And what do you see as far as its implementation and its challenges?
I think it will be challenging, Councilmember Daigle. In addition to the fact that gardeners work on some fairly odd hours and early hours, we are going to work on some public information and hopefully encourage a process whereby people can take down a name and a number of a gardener or a residence, and we might have to do a secondary follow-up with something less than a citation, something involving a notice of an NOV, a notice of violation, and then we move forward on that basis and see how we do. In watching other communities, it's a challenge to enforce. So we'll do the best we can, again, recruiting some volunteers from the public, the residents, to help us out.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay. Do we have comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, can you read the title, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach pertaining to gas-powered leaf blowers in residential districts.
Okay. Please vote.
With council members Rosansky, Selich, and Daigle voting no, the motion carries.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Time for public comments on non-agenda items.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Jim Mansfield, and I'm here representing the Banning Ranch Conservancy. In this capacity, I would like to read the following letter from our president concerning the Coastal Commission Restoration Plan for portions of the Banning Ranch and Sunset Ridge properties. A copy of this letter has also been sent to each of the council members. To the City of Newport Beach, the Banning Ranch Conservancy appreciates the effort and time that the city, along with Newport Banning Ranch LLC, has put into the recent Consent Restoration Order, CCC 11RO-02. Following the passage of the 2006 Newport Beach General Plan, which prioritizes preservation of the entire Banning Ranch as open space, the Banning Ranch Conservancy was formed with the mission of the preservation, acquisition, conservation, and maintenance of the entire Banning Ranch as public open space, park, and coastal nature preserve. To ensure the Consent Restoration Order's restoration plan is consistent with the Newport Beach General Plan and its goals of acquisition of Banning Ranch for open space and the enhancement of natural resources, and to be consistent with the community participation policy that led to the development of the general plan, the Banning Ranch Conservancy respectfully requests to be a party in the drafting of the restoration plan. As the leading public organization in the effort to preserve Banning Ranch as open space, the Banning Ranch Conservancy would bring experience and knowledge to this important ecosystem, along with an organization of dedicated volunteers into the drafting process. At this point, the Banning Ranch Conservancy respectfully requests an outline describing the city's plans on how the city will approach the drafting of the restoration plan. What consultants are being considered, and when does the city expect to submit the draft restoration plan to the Coastal Commission? The Banning Ranch Conservancy would be especially helpful to the city in locating the best areas for mitigation. In conclusion, the Banning Ranch Conservancy offers its services and respectfully requests to be included in this process at the earliest possible point. The local community will greatly benefit. And the letter is signed, sincerely, Terry Welsh, M.D., President, Banning Ranch Conservancy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Rosansky?
Yeah, I'd also add that this community could greatly benefit if your group would drop its lawsuit against the Sunset Ridge Park, which you seem to.
Well, as we have repeatedly stated, we have nothing against the park. We think it's a wonderful park.
That same park is supported by the general plan as well as an active park, and I think you've actively, your group has actively campaigned against that as well as sued the city.
We haven't campaigned against the park at all.
It just seems unusual that you would come here requesting our participation, or our utilizing your services when you utilize your services against us. Thank you, sir.
We're really, everything we do is in a spirit of cooperation, and we hope you'll take advantages of our...
Sir, suing the city is not in the spirit of cooperation.
Exactly.
All right. We don't use, public comment for bantering back and forth. So thank you for your comments, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comments? Who would care to come up for public comments? All right, fine. Well, I think we're done with public comments then. And with that, I think we're on to oral reports from city council members on committee activities. Councilmember Hill.
None.
And Councilmember Rosansky.
None, thank you.
And Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. in this chamber, the Coastal Bay Water Quality Committee and the Harbor Commission will be holding a joint meeting. So if you're interested in harbor issues or water quality issues, that will be a meeting for you to attend.
Thank you. Councilmember Daigle.
I have none.
And Councilmember Curry.
The Finance Committee had an extensive briefing on the budget, and an even more extensive briefing was held during the study session, which will be playing, I believe, in rotation on our public access station. So I encourage you to watch it. And the short, to cut to the chase, I think we've got a very innovative budget coming in that I think does some very good things, and that the city is going to end the year in very good financial shape.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Selich?
I have no reports this evening.
Okay, and I have just one. The July 4th committee, that is the committee that plans, along with staff, how we're going to handle the July 4th celebration on the peninsula, met on Wednesday, May the 4th, to go over with the police department and staff how that's going to be handled. We'll be making some further changes this year along the lines of our multi-year plan to get to a celebration for the peninsula that looks a lot like the celebrations elsewhere in our city. That is a more family-friendly celebration. We also took that opportunity to do public outreach to homeowners and property owners and apartment owners and so forth regarding the new ordinance that's under consideration actually tonight on loud and unruly gatherings. And we had some very good input from that further helped us with the shaping of our ordinance. And so with that, we are now ready for public hearings. And I would like to start with council's indulgence by asking whether or not there's anyone here in the audience regarding the Malarkey's agenda item. Raise your hand. Okay. It is the case that that item is likely to be continued, and with council's indulgence, I would like to go ahead and deal with that and start by offering a motion to continue the Malarkey's item for 2 weeks.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Rosansky. Do we have any other comment from council? Do we have any comment from the public? All right. Seeing none, please vote. So therefore, if you're here for Malarkey's, you're welcome to stay longer if you would like, but we didn't want to tie you up any longer than we needed to. And next, then, would be the appeal for the minimum side setback determination, Broadmoor Pacific View Planned Community. Do we have a staff report on that?
Mayor and members of the City Council, this is an appeal filed by Councilmember Curry regarding the Planning Commission's determination of the application of side yard setbacks within the Broadmoor Pacific View Planned Community. That particular planned community was crafted in the mid-'70s. It's got a fairly unique design standard that we can get into the details of momentarily, but in one respect there is an ambiguity there where the planned community text does not provide sufficient guidance. So when that occurs with zoning regulations or planned community regulations, it's the planning director's role to establish or interpret those regulations and apply them. And in that respect, we had a disagreement with the Whites, which is a resident of Broadmoor Planned Community. And what we decided to do in this particular case is to present the information to the Planning Commission. And on March the 17th of this year, the Planning Commission did make an interpretation based on staff's recommendation. And I'm going to turn this over to Jaime Murillo to kind of get into the specifics of how the side yard setbacks are established in that community and the ambiguity and the results. So, Jaime.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Council. So just briefly to go over the history of the community. The Broadmoor Pacific View Planned Community is located just southeast of San Miguel Road, just north of the Big Canyon Reservoir. It was originally developed in the late 70s and processed under tentative tract number 9047, which approved the subdivision for 167 residential lots. As you can see on this exhibit, the subdivision was later broken up into 3 final tract maps. Tract map number 9047, which authorized the 49 lots in green. Final tract number 9261, which authorized the 49 lots in blue. And final tract 9260, which authorized 69 lots in pink. These numbers become important as we get into the presentation a little bit when we talk about the applicable setback maps for each of these properties. Concurrent with the approval of the subdivision map, the city approved the Broadmoor Pacific View Planned Community text. This is a regulatory document that sets forth the development standards for each of the residential properties within the community. It's a little unique with respect to setbacks in that instead of establishing your traditional front and rear setbacks, it establishes street setbacks for the house from the front property line, a minimum 5 feet, and it establishes view setbacks along the rear of the property, requiring a minimum 3 feet from the top of slope. Additionally, it requires, it references setback maps for lot-specific street and view setbacks for each of the homes, which vary from lot to lot. With respect to side setbacks, it does not refer to a final setback map, but there is one provision that would allow for a zero lot line type development. However, the PC text standards are a little ambiguous, as Jim mentioned, and has created a couple questions that we analyzed and presented to the Planning Commission for their final determination. The first question was, what is the correct site plan or map to be referenced when determining the street and view setbacks for the homes in the Broadmoor Pacific View community? And the second question was, how should side setbacks be regulated given that zero side setbacks do not actually exist within the community? So with respect to the first question, it was determined that for the establishment of street and view setbacks for the properties located within tracts number 9047 and 9261, that this exhibit, which is the setback map prepared for the tentative tract, is the correct exhibit to reference. Here's a magnified version of the map. As you can see, it establishes various street setbacks for each of the lots, and it establishes a view setback along the top of the slope. For properties located within final tract number 9260, a final setback map was prepared and approved, which establishes, again, view setbacks for each of the lots, and house setbacks from the streets. In both cases, none of these maps actually establish side setbacks for these homes. So with regard to side setbacks, there's some ambiguity and question as to what is the minimum side setback. The only standard within the PC text is this standard here, which reads, "A 0 side yard setback between the structure and the lot line shall be permitted on one side, provided there are no openings on the 0 side yard wall, and that a total of 10 feet shall be provided between structures." What this is intended to set up is this situation, which is your typical 0 lot line development. As you can see on the slide, House 2 would be situated on the property line on one side of the lot, and on the adjacent side of the lot, they provide a 10-foot setback. The intent of this is to provide a more usable side yard for each of the homeowners within the community. Unfortunately, what was actually developed is this scenario where a house would provide a 4-foot setback on one side of the property and a 6-foot setback on the other side of the property, with the result of a 10-foot separation between buildings. We believe this was done to comply with the building code requirements at the time, to comply with ingress and egress requirements. But what the developer actually did to still implement that 0 lot line concept was that for the 4-foot side yard setbacks, they were granted over to the adjacent property through landscape easement in the CCNRs. So in this situation, the 4-foot setback for House 2 is granted over to the property owner of House 1, basically creating the appearance of a 0 lot line configuration. This is how majority of the properties are situated within the community, and there really hasn't been an issue with regards to what the minimum setback should be, given that there's only 10-foot separation for the most part between buildings, and the property owner has full control of that space. But for 22 properties within the community, there's a situation that exists. In this scenario, where between House 3 and 4, there's a large side yard setback. Their landscape easements are provided on opposite ends of their lots, so there really is an opportunity to do an addition or an expansion. Again, because the PC text doesn't really provide any direction as to what the minimum side setback should be in a non-zero lot line configuration, in the past, staff has interpreted that to mean that property owner could do an addition up to the property line, provided they maintain 10 feet between structures. So in this case, House 3 could do an addition to the property line, side property line. Unfortunately, what that does for House 4 is they would have to maintain a 10-foot setback in the future from that new addition. We recognize that that is unfair, and it does create some inequity with regards to the implementation of setbacks in the community. So when we brought this item forward to the Planning Commission, staff recommended that to provide an equitable setback and a certainty for development within the community, that a 5-foot setback should be provided to the PL side property line between each structure, and that achieves the minimum 10-foot setback or separation between structures. The Planning Commission agreed with that determination. Also at the Planning Commission hearing, we did receive testimony from the Homeowners Association Board and Architectural Review Committee, who also agreed with this determination. Just for clarification, the White's interpretation is that the actual setback map referred to in the PC text isn't the setback maps previously showed to you, but is actually the permitted site plan or the construction drawings used for the construction of all the homes in the community. Additionally, they believe that this exhibit also controls the side setbacks for each of the properties. Staff disagrees with that interpretation for a number of reasons. Primarily, this exhibit or this plan doesn't provide dimensions from the view side or from the top of slope, and it also doesn't provide dimensions from the house to the street, which is the intention of the plan community text in establishing street and view setbacks. Additionally, if these plans did control the building envelopes for each of the homes in the community, then no additions beyond the original building envelope would be allowed without a discretionary approval. So based on those comments, the Planning Commission did determine that a minimum 5-foot setback should be provided, and its staff is requesting that the City Council, or recommending that the City Council uphold the determination of the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Does council have any questions of staff? No?
We don't usually do things that involve planned communities. I mean, we let the CC&Rs control that. But because we felt that the CC&Rs didn't address this, then the city takes it back at that point? Is that why we're, the Planning Commission and the council is addressing this?
Yeah, we were confronted with the circumstance with the neighbor wanting to do an addition into that side yard and the neighbor not agreeing with that. It was under review at the HOA, and we don't implement CC&Rs, as you know. But in looking at Mr. White's contention and looking at the planned community text very carefully, you know, we found that it really didn't provide sufficient direction. There was ambiguity there, and so we embarked upon providing a written interpretation of how we would look at this particular circumstance. The original interpretation we came up with was the historical one, which would allow, you know, the building to come right up to the property line, but upon further reflection, we looked at it and said, well, you know, it really doesn't provide an equitable solution to that circumstance, so we suggested a 5-foot setback. We brought this forward to the Planning Commission because of you know, the need to provide a public forum for the community to also provide input on the interpretation. We don't typically do that, but we felt it was in the best interest of the community to have the commission review it and endorse that interpretation. And then it was appealed here, so.
And if I may, just for clarity, that, yes, that's the planned community text. We're not involved in their CC&Rs, which has been our ongoing policies.
Okay. Councilmember Curry?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I brought this item up in the interest of fairness and equity to the Whites, who are the applicants here, and I appreciate the fact that staff has, I think, done a pretty good job of explaining the ambiguities that exist in this language, but I also believe that the Planning Commission did a good job in solemnatic wisdom in how they made this determination in consultation with the Homeowners Association. You know, I'm going to be supporting upholding the action that was taken by the Planning Commission, but I do believe, because of the issues here, that it's important that the Whites have the opportunity to have their day in court to make their case to the council tonight and not have to pay the $4,000 for the right to do it, which is why we've facilitated their appeal today. But I've also had the opportunity to talk with the Homeowners Association. I think they're pretty unified on where they want to be on this as well.
All right. With that, then, we'll open the public hearing on this item. Does anyone wish to make a comment? Come on up.
When I was in front of the...
Sir, would you state your name, please?
Oh, sorry. James White. My little card here says where I live. Do I need to state that as well? Okay. When I was here in front of the Planning Commission, my friends here on the staff did such a good job they completely upset my presentation. So I'm hopefully a little better prepared tonight. Still, Jaime has done a good job. So I kind of have a brief statement, and then I want to go into some of his exhibits. He had way better exhibits than I had, which is what caused me confusion in the prior hearing. My wife and I are here because we asked for a clarification of PC 18 in our letter to Mr. Fisk. This is the letter. It's an inch thick. The question we asked was, where is the setback map that shows the setbacks to all property lines, as PC number 18 says there will be? For the last 30 years, as Jaime has said, the Planning Department says they've used the final setback map to answer the questions relating to setbacks in Seaview. However, that map is very preliminary. The grading on it is completely wrong, and the lot lines are very wrong, and the setbacks are inconsistent with what was actually built. So it can't possibly be the setback map that controls the development. In recent meeting with Jim Campbell, Jaime presented a new map, which he showed a moment ago, that is only for Phase 1. And it's more accurate, but it also is not stamped that it's approved. So it is just a working document. We have made the case in our letter to Mr. Fick that there are approved plot plans and that they are the controlling documents for development in the development. The Planning Department says that the approved plot plans are not the controlling documents. But if this is the case, where are the controlling documents? Jaime showed that there. Jaime, back where it says approved, the prior one. See where it says PC, that means plan check, and the APPR means approved, 11/1976. That document is approved by the building department to be in conformance with the general plan amendment. So my contention is that it does control the development in the project. That creates some problems, however, because it's our conclusion that that document says you can't go outside of your original footprint. Well, everybody hates that conclusion because they think it forestalls development. In our letter, we've never said that you cannot go outside the footprint, but rather we said there needs to be a process that when someone wants to go outside they need to get, A, their neighbor's approval, because views are involved, and I know you folks don't like to talk about views. They can't block a view. That should be a second. They should get an ARC and city approval for their development. To me, that seems like a very sensible conclusion. The 5 and 5 setback is an interesting idea, but it doesn't go far enough. It doesn't address the issue which your document, the PC-18, talks about views, yet the city doesn't want to talk about views, and I think that that's the flaw in the planning department's conclusion. I don't disagree with the 5 and 5 idea. It just does not go far enough. I think if this kind of a process is not adopted, the process where the city understands that the document that you approved, PC number 18 and 76, does discuss views. If you don't get involved in that, then the neighborhood of the community of Seaview will continue to have lawsuits over views, and from time to time the city may become involved in those. So I think that you do have a responsibility to look at that issue. And so one of the things that I suggest tonight is that possibly you continue this decision until that issue of whether the city can look at the views that are discussed in PC-18. So I would just love to go through this book with you because I think it's conclusive evidence, but it'd take about an hour and a half, and I doubt that these people are interested in my book. So if you have any questions, I'd be delighted to answer them.
Do we have any questions for Mr. White? No, we don't.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment on this item? Please come down.
Good evening. I'm Bill Moore, President of the Broadmoor Seaview Homeowners Association, 1921 Yacht Truant, Newport Beach. And appreciate your time on this. I can't believe we're here with our neighborhood squabble before the City Council, but nevertheless, we appreciate your time. This is really a simple matter. They've drawn all these lines and et cetera, but the Whites are really strongly objecting to a remodel request by their neighbors. They're one of 20, those two homes are some of 22 homes out of 167 in Seaview that face each other. Everything else is sort of a zero lot line concept, slightly modified, I guess. But it's the first time we've had a significant remodel request from two people where their houses face each other. Obviously, as you can see from the drawings, there's plenty of room for a remodel. It's just a request. It's just a matter of how is it going to be done. And when the request first came in, our architectural committee came down here and met with the planning department. It was determined at that time that the McConaughey's could build up to their lot line, which they didn't quite choose to do that, but close to it. And as long as the homes were still 10 foot apart, because it was sort of like, well, whoever gets there first can have it. But then the Whites started doing some research, and we agreed with their findings that that wasn't really quite fair, because then someday if they wanted to remodel and the McConaughey's had already taken up that space, now they couldn't go, within 2 feet of their lot line. They couldn't even go within 7 feet of the lot line. So we agreed that it would be fair that each party could go within 5 feet of the lot line. And that's really not why we're here today. Why we're here today is because the Whites weren't satisfied with that. And so they went down. They spent about 100 hours going through archives, et cetera, in the Newport Beach City Hall, looking at our CC&Rs. And bottom line, they came to a self-serving conclusion that those documents dictated that nobody in Seaview could ever remodel outside of the original envelope of their house without going through some sort of extended process and having the city micromanaging remodel request in Seaview. We've had our architectural committee, our board, our legal counsel, our property management company, the planning department, I assume the legal counsel for the city of Newport Beach, and the planning commission for Newport Beach have all looked at this. That's quite an accumulation of people, and nobody agrees with the conclusion that the whites have come to. So simply put, I don't know how else to state it. From my understanding, with which we support the planning department recommendation and the subsequent ruling by the planning commission, it's my understanding as part of that PC 18 will be modified, rewritten, amended, however you want to state it. And then when they're done with that, some of the ambiguous language will have been removed, and we'll all know where we stand, and we can continue responsibly approving remodel requests in Seaview as we have for about 34 years. So I'm not the X's and O's guys. I don't know all the details. We have people here with our architectural committee. If you have some detailed questions you might want to ask, but in general, if somebody want to ask something, I'd be glad to address it.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Kenneth Krause. I live in Seaview, 2009 Yacht Resolute. And I think this whole thing is the issue here is being confused. It is not true that you can't enlarge or modify your footprint of your house, because I did it. And that's not the issue. The issue here is not whether you're, the exact measurements. The issue is view. And because of the fact that I had an issue with a neighbor over view, and it wound up in a lawsuit. And we prevailed in the lawsuit, and it was the determination of the presiding judge that these are zero lot lines, and he came up and he spent some time there in the middle of the trial, and he viewed everything, and he said, privacy and exact lot lines are not exactly what the issue here. The issue is that these properties, the value of the properties are in the view. And we wound up in a dispute over view, and so my 2 cents is that is the important issue here, whether it's 5 feet or 2 feet. I get lost in all these measurements. But because of the fact that our architectural committee and homeowners association wouldn't interpret things in a consistent fashion, we wound up in a lawsuit that cost everybody a lot of money, and it should have been resolved right there in the homeowners association.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments?
My name is Craner Richter. I'm the attorney for the McConaughey's in this matter. For approximately 36 years, the wording of the CC&Rs in this amendment number 18 has provided guidance to both the homeowner association and the city. As observed by the planning department, Amendment 18 provides for a 10-foot separation between structures. I suspect that what this is, an acknowledgement of when you have a zero lot line, give the homeowners association the discretion to make independent decisions with regards to how far and what the situation of the homes should be. What has happened here is, I believe in the report, and probably aptly so, a race to build has developed because of this. I think still it probably should be best left to the homeowners association. However, that race to build is a concern that I think probably brings us before the commission today. The Planning Commission's approach, as documented in their staff report, I think is extremely well thought out, and looking at both the White side and the McConaughey side. The issue with regards to trying to adopt as a setback map a set of construction drawings would lead to nothing but further problems down the road, because there's only a limited number of meets and bounds, or so to speak, descriptions of how far things are separated. A 5 and 5 would provide a minimum, you might say, plan in which the parties could then conduct themselves so they know where they would go in the future. The McConaughey's, obviously, they've had their plans redrafted numerous times, taking it all the way out to the property line and now bringing it back. But they would, because of the scenario that's been developed, fully support the staff plan that's been presented.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else on this item? Okay, I'll bring it back to council for discussion and a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move that the council sustain the planning commission's recommendation.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. With the this is a public hearing, so I think we should read the title. There's no resolution or ordinance associated with it. Okay.
If I could first,
Sure.
could I just ask Mr. Campbell, on the issue of views, and the city doesn't get involved in protecting views, particularly homeowner association disputes, but is there any thought or issue relative to views that will become part of how this is documented going forward?
The answer to that is actually no. I was scanning through the plan community text just now, and there's nothing in there that refers to views or review process for views. There may be that within the CC&Rs, and I think it's best left at that level. But as we go forward, our plan was to document the decision and provide that in a written form as well as online. And when we come back and do a comprehensive, we start reviewing the PC text amendments, we'll actually amend the ordinance at a future date. But I think we can document this in that fashion as we go forward.
Okay, further comment? All right, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Next item is item number 10, West Newport amendments for 3 properties. And why don't we get a quick staff report on this?
Certainly. Mayor, members of the City Council, this project we're entitling West Newport Amendments. It involves 3 different properties. We'll get a graph up of that in a moment. 3 property owners have banded together with one application to change the general plan, coastal land use plan, and the zoning code to change the zoning, the designations from residential, 2-family residential in each case, to a commercial designation or a mixed-use designation, principally to allow the continued use of the properties for commercial purposes. We've got the Frog House property here on the western edge of West Newport. We've got the Cat Protection Society property here next to it, as well as we have the Kennard property here, which has some party planning service, used to be a bike shop, if you will. Now, in 2006, the general plan took these commercial properties from from commercial to residential. And I think in 2008, when we amended the zoning code to amortize non-conforming non-residential uses in residential zones, it created a situation where these properties have to abate in a very quickly time period. So we put these folks on notice, and they filed these applications with the hopes to continue the commercial processing, commercial activities on the site. We did have a Planning Commission hearing on April 7th. The Planning Commission did look at several different potential zoning designations for the properties. And we can get into those specifics if you like, but in a nutshell, the recommendation is to change these 2 properties, again, Frog House and National Cat Protection Society, from 2-family residential to mixed-use vertical. It would allow continued commercial use of the existing properties. It would also allow redevelopment in a mixed-use fashion with a residential unit on the ground floor, commercial use on the ground floor and residential above. And the Kennard property here on the, closer towards the main commercial area, going to general commercial with a .5 FAR. That .5 FAR is consistent with the density of all these other commercial properties in the area. And that general commercial provides the most flexibility in land uses. Again, the Planning Commission recommends approval of the amendments. Staff does as well. And if you want, we can show you some photographs of the properties, and we can provide additional detail.
Does anyone need additional detail?
No.
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 All right. So I'd like
Okay.
to, if you're done with your presentation.
Mr.
I'm
Mayor,
done.
before you,
All right. I'd like to turn it over to Councilmember Rosansky.
well, actually, I just came to the realization that I own property within 500 feet of all of these properties, and so I guess I'm going to need to recuse myself, so I will stand down.
Okay. In that case, I'd be happy to recognize Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Well, I have a feeling that most people are here for this issue. And I have a feeling that it could be very simple, that if we maybe were all of a mind, we could straw vote it, and if that way we might save ourselves about an hour and a half of testimony, and everybody could go home.
So, just out of curiosity, how many people are here for this agenda item tonight? Very good. Let me, let's hear from the outside there. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, should we ask which side they're on?
Yeah. So I would like to just get a sense of council. Does anyone on council have any plan to offer any objection to this item? Not me. I don't see anyone that does.
Well, then,
And so I think we should at least hear a motion.
I would make a motion that we support the decision of the Planning Commission.
I second that.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Let's read the title of the motion. This will take a minute.
This will be long. Resolution number 2011-41, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach approving amendments to the land use element of the General Plan and Coastal Land Use Plan to change the land use designation from 2-unit residential to mixed-use vertical MUV and for properties located at 6904 and 6908 through 6936 West Coast Highway, PA 2010-182 and PA 2011-14, and from 2-unit residential to general commercial CG .5 for the property located at 6480 West Coast Highway, PA 2010-190, all located within Land Use Statistical Area B1, and ordinance number 2011-15, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach approving code amendment numbers CA 2010-013, CA 2011-003, and CA 2011-012 to revise the zoning map to change the zoning designation of property located at 6480 West Coast Highway from R2 to CG Commercial General, PA 2010-190, and a change 6904 and 6908 through 6936 West Coast Highway from R2 to MUV Mixed Use Vertical, PA 2011-14 and PA 2010-182.
We
All
need to
right.
get snappier headings for these things.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I believe that's the first time that we've had a title to be read that exceeded the staff report in length. So maybe we can get shorter titles somehow.
Please.
But in any event, I do appreciate all the people that are down here for this item. I do hope you enjoyed yourselves seeing how city government works for a few minutes here before we got to this item. I think it ought to be pretty clear to everybody out there which way this is going to go. Is there anyone that really, truly feels compelled to come down here and say anything about this by way of public comment? If you really, really think you really have to do that, come on down.
And just for clarity's sake, you've just opened the public hearing with that caveat.
Yes. Oh, nobody wants to come down. Well, in that case, oh.
It's going to be very short. No. All I'm going to defend here is my name is Alex Hoover. I've been a resident here for over 12 years of my life. I did not come from here. I was not born here, but out of all members of my family, I decided to stay here. I'm here to support the historical representation of what Newport is all about. Now, if you were to take the Frog House, particularly spoken, what I'm speaking of, from this location, you will not be able to get rid of the followers. But at the same time, realize that you're going to be taking a part of history, a part of what you guys have grown up with, and a part of what I've grown up with, and a part of what most of the people that are here supporting are with. You could always relocate it, but they'll always be there. Now understand, you'll be compromising what everyone has always supported. And that's what the community wants. You all are a part of the community. That's why you're up there. That's why you're representing, and that's why you're here to make judgments. And understand that you have such a young, supportive group here. I mean, look, we're in the city council. Look how many people are wearing hats. Have you ever seen so many people wear hats in this, ever? Look.
Certainly not bright orange ones.
No, let alone bright orange. Now, I'm not personally, necessarily, involved with the Frog House. I have many friends, many family members that are. But I'm here to support the historical values of what has been given to our community, and I'm here to support what, the diversity of ages are here supporting it. And I understand that, yes, we all laughed about, of course, most of us here are here to support it. And I seriously respect the fact that all of you guys are able to, shine a light on it and kind of view it lightly. But at the same time, it is something that's serious. You have to realize that it's a community supporting something that they believe in. And for so many people to stand up here and to come and say, hey, we know that you're trying to vote against something, but guess what? We don't agree. And for you all to acknowledge that is admirable. And
Okay, please. Come on, let's settle down here.
No,
We
but-
do want to get through this.
no, it's fine. But as I'm saying, no one else stood up. I know that there are many supporters that have so much more involved here. And I know that I just might be good at speaking, or I might be up here and have the nerve to do this. And as you guys notified, yes, this could take hours. But I feel impelled to come up here to support. Look what your community is supporting, and look what you guys stand for. And realize that, as I stated prior, that I might not be as involved with the Frog House as I wish that I were. I'm more here for the historical compellencies of where it is. And if you were to take the location, you wouldn't be able to get rid of the followers. You wouldn't be able to get rid of the community that is, so much upheld it. But you would probably be, you would be throwing in their faces that, hey, we don't care what you think. But I know you guys do. And honestly, being as, a young supporter, it is compelling to see you guys be able to respond and acknowledge it the way that you did. We all know that you're here to support it. We all know you know what's going on with the community. And to know and to see your guys' response to this as a community upholder, it's really compelling, and it's respectable, and it makes us believe in you guys, that you support the community.
Let me have my turn. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hey, I want to thank the staff, the council. The city's treated us very well in every step. Mr. Campbell, Jay,
Could you
guys,
give us
we
your name,
understand what's
please,
going
sir?
on. Thank you much. Hey, guys.
Sir, your
my name
name?
is T.K. Breimer. I'm an applicant at the Frog House, for the Frog House. And I want to thank all your supporters for showing up. It's not necessary to hear anything out of any of you for any reason. Let's go home. Enough. Let's do it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Democracy in action. Do we have any further comment? Please vote.
With Councilmember Rosansky recusing himself.
guess. I don't know. All right, if you all could please be quiet as you leave, we'd appreciate it. Okay. I guess so. Yeah. In any event, all right. Long live the Frog House. Okay. All right. May we proceed now with item number 11, please, the North Newport Center Plan Community Development Plan Amendment. Do we have a staff report?
I have a brief one. Mayor, members of the council, this is an amendment to the North Newport Center Plan Community to incorporate a portion of Block 800 that the applicant owns within that planned community text. Planning Commission did recommend approval on April 7th. The Airport Land Use Commission also approved the project on April 21st. Staff's available for any questions the council may have.
That's a great report.
Move the item.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please read the title?
Ordinance number 2011-16, an ordinance approving an amendment to the North Newport Center Plan Community Development Plan PD 2011-1 and Code Amendment CA 2011-4 to change the zoning classification from PC 23 to PC 56 for property located at 800, 840, 860, and 880 Newport Center Drive, PA 2011-17.
All right. I think we need titles here that have to be read all on one breath. How's that? Okay. I'd like to open the public hearing here. Do we have anyone who wishes to?
I just have a comment that this is, to my understanding, it adds no new square footage. It's moving around, for clarification. It doesn't add to the traffic. It's traffic neutral.
Yes. The amendment doesn't increase any entitlement. The development standards basically remain the same. The allowed uses basically remain the same, although there are slight differences that are highlighted in the report. And it doesn't create any traffic impacts.
So the public hearing is open. Does anyone wish to make a comment on this? Okay.
Yeah, I had one comment. I serve on the Airport Land Use Commission, and we did approve the plan by a unanimous vote. We found it to be consistent with airport land use environs, so that was good. And I would certainly make a motion to move the project, move the action.
I think we already have a motion and a second.
Okay. Who made that? Oh, thank you, Steve.
Okay. If any other comments, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right. We've already considered the Malarkey's appeal and continuance. And so the next item was the loud and unruly gathering ordinance. Do we have a staff report?
We do, Mr. Mayor and council members. It looks like Bill Hartford will be giving that.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Since the last time we met, unfortunately I can say to you good evening instead of good morning. But we've done some considerable outreach. Deputy City Attorney Conroy have made a presentation at the West Newport Association. We've also made a presentation to members of the South Coast Apartment Association on May 5th. With the assistance of Public Information Manager Tara Finnegan, we've sent emails to the following individuals and corporations: the Irvine Company community managers in Newport Beach, Coronado's Apartments, rental and property managers identified by the Revenue Division, and all homeowner associations with email lists. We've also addressed it to members of the committee that provided, that provided their emails at the council meetings, as well as the 4th of July safety meeting. Kyle and I have also fielded several emails from property owners that had questions concerning this ordinance. If you do a Google search of Newport Beach loud and unruly gathering ordinance, you'll get 9,560 results. I want to thank Tara and Evelyn Singh and Revenue for all their assistance they've had in our outreach efforts. And with this, I'll hand it over to Kyle Rowland concerning some of the changes that we've made since we last met.
Thank you, Lieutenant, and good evening, Mayor, members of the council. We've heard your comments and that of the community for this, and we've made some modifications to the ordinance consistent with the direction that we've received at the last couple of meetings. One of the changes is we removed property owner from the definition of a responsible person and created a separate definition for owner in the ordinance. We've also created a new definition for a residential unit. That definition is consistent with that in the city's zoning code for a dwelling unit, and then expands about the yard area or areas adjacent to the individual dwelling unit that would be subject to this ordinance should it be approved. We've clarified the noticing procedures for an owner versus a responsible person who is present at the premises where the gathering would occur. We've clarified that the property would only be subject to a lien if the owner failed to pay their civil fines that would be assessed for this. So thus, if a tenant or other occupant received a citation or civil fine at the property, the owner would not ultimately be assessed that via a lien procedure. We've added a presumption of knowledge for after the notice is posted on the property that any person that is present there for a future violation and engages in the loud and unruly conduct would have knowledge of the prior violations and could be subject to the increased fine amounts. We've clarified when an owner is not liable for a violation at a residential unit in Section 060I. We've clarified how an owner can get permission from the Chief of Police to remove a posted notice in Section 060J. We've clarified that the short-term lodging permits would be for 3 or more violations, but only when that lodging unit is being used on a short-term basis, and made it consistent with the noticing procedures to the owner that is in 030D. So the owner has to have received notice of the violation and have a passage of 14 days before that a subsequent violation could be used to go to the next level of 2 or 3 for the violations. With that, I think, do you have anything else to add, Lieutenant?
Before you sit down, Kyle.
Sure.
Have you seen the letter from the South Coast Apartment Association?
I just briefly glanced at it. I received
The last paragraph, I'm not sure whether you've already covered that, but it talks about that the city may impose a lien on the subject property in the event of non-payment of civil fines. The city attorney told us that that is only if the property owner is the responsible person, and we would like language to that effect included in the ordinance. Do you feel that's already covered, or?
Yes, they're referring to a section detailing what notices need to be put in our notice of violation that is served on the property owner, not on the actual section. Section 080 deals with when the city can actually impose the lien for delinquent costs.
So you feel their concerns are adequately addressed in the language that exists?
And it is in Section 080 that specifies that we can only impose it when the owner is specifically responsible for the civil fines that are delinquent.
All right, thank you.
Kyle, I was at the meeting, the July 4th meeting when this was discussed. It seemed like the response from property owners at that meeting was generally positive after all the explanations and some of the changes. Other than this South Coast Apartment Association letter, have you had any other feedback from property owners objecting to provisions of the ordinance?
No.
From the outreach that was?
No, from the outreach, I think that we've clarified their questions. We've answered them to the best of our abilities. Why, like the South Coast Apartment Association, may not like the posting provisions. That's the only thing that we have heard of.
Okay. Councilmember Hill?
Just under 16030 D as in David, it talks about the mail, U.S. mail notice and that type of thing. I mean, if our goal is to really jump on these things and solve them, that seems to me to be a strange way to communicate with someone. When we have email and telephone and all the rest of those types of things, why isn't that mentioned?
Because when we have no way of knowing who the owner is for sure, but for the recorded documents and the tax rolls that we get from the county assessor, recorder, clerk, and in there's no requirement under state law that when you record your title documents that you provide an email address or phone number. All you have to do is provide the mailing address. And
But
so
aren't these places also quite frequently on short-term rental permits in the city?
They may be, although we did not include that in the ordinance. We have worked with staff in developing procedures for implementation of this, that we will give as many notices to people that are affiliated with the subject residential unit as the city has information about. So if a landlord or agent or property manager will notify the city and tell us we own these addresses, we'll run them through our short-term databases. We'll try to cross-reference it through other means that the city has, but we don't feel that it is in our best interest to codify that we're going to send notice via email, because we may not have that ability.
Well, it would seem to me, number one, when we talk about technology and all the rest of those types of things, I mean, if we write a letter and we don't have a mail system, then what good's a letter? I mean, it seems to me that if we have a process of registering short-term permits, that we ought to change that permit process if it doesn't have a blank that says email address and telephone contact on it. And so therefore, in the cross-referencing, we would find that, and that this language should say that, as it says, but also that when available, email or telephone can also be used to make that contact.
The email would be sufficient. We would not recommend using telephone because we need to have documentary proof that we've given the required notice under the section, and so the telephone could subject us to people saying, I never received the phone call. As this ordinance applies to more than just the short-term lodging permits, it's any residential unit within the city, and so not all residential units have short-term lodging permits. So while the city would utilize any available addresses or communication means that we have with the property owners or their managers, we don't have a means to compel them, absent a short-term lodging permit, to provide us that information.
All right. And then my only other item was just a stupid nit, but in 1066-040 in the intro paragraph, the third line down, the owner of that residential unit does not reside within the resident unit. That the owner, I think it should be then the owner.
Thank you, Councilmember Hill. We'll make that change and note it for the reading of the ordinance.
That happens to be the only paragraph I read in the whole document.
Okay. Any other questions, comments for staff? All right. Thank you. We'll open the public hearing then. Would anyone care to make a comment?
My name's Richard Bergstrom. I'm a homeowner in the Newport Marina Villas, and also a landlord of several apartments. Previous to what I'm going to say, I'd just like to mention that in the many businesses and boards that I serve on, I'm discovering that there is so much email today, and we're so bombarded with it, that oftentimes a letter gets more attention today than an email. Certainly not against using it as a redundant means, but there's just a lot of email that gets flushed. My purpose in stepping up here today is just to suggest July 4th is coming on us very quick, and I think I'm urging you to expedite the passing of this ordinance just as soon as possible, because these problems have been so horrific for us for such a long time, and I can say that everybody in the Newport Marina Villas feels the same way. We discussed it from our last meeting. So while I fully endorse this, and I'm not suggesting it be changed, I do recommend that the city go back and look at and consider not barricading Balboa Boulevard on that day. That becomes then a thoroughfare for all these outsiders that flood into our community. Why make it easy for them? I see a great deal of police that have to be assigned that street, and I think we'd be better off if they were dispersed throughout the community where we're having the problems. So I think that should be looked at a little more. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I did have one more question.
Sure.
Sorry. Will the city be furnishing a suggested paragraph or an addendum to standard residential leases to include the language of this ordinance?
We did make that pledge to work with the groups and provide some type of template like that, yes.
Okay, do we have any other public comment on this item?
Hello, council members. My name is Krisztina Scheeff. I'm a resident of Corona Del Mar, and I oppose this for a number of reasons. I think there are already a number of ordinances in places and a number of laws that are already in place. And according to the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce website, drunkenness on 4th of July has gone down 9% in 2010, and it went down in 2009. I think the police are doing a great effort to control this one day. I don't think it's necessary to have an ordinance to address one day of the year that causes problems. I think it's in violation of property rights. I think it impedes business, and I think it's unnecessary with all the other ordinances in place. There's already disturbance advisement cards that go out, and this is not Tucson, Arizona. The average home price in Tucson, Arizona is $175,000. Our average home price in Newport Beach is $1 million. We are a luxury community, and it is a luxury to be able to rent a home for $3,000 for 1 week in our area. And according to the Chamber of Commerce also, tourism is an integral part of our community, and I think this inhibits the rights of landlords, also inhibits restaurants from being able to have a flourishing business in the summertime. And I also think that it's excessive in the fines, and it's excessive in the idea that 8 people constitutes a party. I appreciate Selnick and Daigle for opposing this. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Willis Longyear from Newport Beach. The only concern I have is on 020B and C. People who own the place or are in charge of it can escape posting of notices and eventual fines by professing that that they've taken all the steps that they can to exclude uninvited people, and under B, and under C, that they've taken all steps available to control invited people. And is there some way of causing them to have to verify that they've done this? It's just to me, it sounds like you could say, "Oh, I tried," and then that excuses you from all of the postings and future penalties. So that's my concern.
All right. Thank you, sir. Just in response to that, I believe the police department needs to make an evaluation, and there will be an evaluation of that. Is that not right?
Yes, sir.
So it won't be just accepted at face, someone's statement.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working my way down. Good evening, council members. My name is Judy League, and I'm with the South Coast Apartment Association. I'm not going to read the letter because obviously you've already received our letter. Our concern is with the posting of the notices. First of all, that it's an 8x10 fluorescent orange notice, so obviously it's going to be very, very obvious to everyone and how that might impact our members' ability to rent units in the area of a posted unit. And the other thing is the length of time you're requiring the unit to be posted, which is 6 months. We think that's excessive and that it will impede even well-run communities' ability to rent the other units in the area. So we'd ask you to reconsider that. Thank you.
Ken Rawson. I'd like to address the council on a couple of points here. On the preamble that keeps coming out with this loud and unruly ordinance, you've got a letter that states on the second page from the meeting that you conducted on the 12th of April. Many members of the community spoke in favor of this proposed ordinance during the City Council study session. I went back and watched the video and looked at the minutes. There were 4 people in favor of this and 2 opposed. So if you keep putting this out, I'm asking you, I believe that's misleading. I do not believe 4 in any constitution would ever constitute many people. Okay? I have attended the meeting on the 26th of April. I attended the meeting also on the 4th of May where we discussed this. And I'm concerned, just like I know fellow property owners are here that are concerned. What you heard on the 4th of May, because I've sat and talked with the Deputy City Attorney, trying to improve this to make it the least onerous ordinance that it possibly could be. And I agree with the lady that put out the letter from South Coast Apartment Association. I believe posting, if you've read this, I believe posting a red highlighted note on the front of our properties is truly a scarlet letter. So I've gone ahead and I've talked to some of my colleagues at work that live in Newport Coast. I've talked to some of my colleagues at work that live in the Newport Coast. We have a rental property in Corona Del Mar. Nobody there believes this is going to apply to them. They all say, this doesn't mean us. This means the peninsula. And if I remember, Councilwoman Daigle, your question on the 26th of April, you asked the policeman that was presenting, is this for the 4th of July? And his response was, yes, this is for the 4th of July. This, the way it's written, is for 365 days of the year. I believe West Newport Beach has a problem on the 4th of July, just as the other gentleman stated. I believe barricading off the streets, because I go, as I mentioned in the last meeting, I go and sit at my rental property because I want to protect it. I believe we need to come up with some kind of different solution for the 4th of July. But I believe an ordinance that's addressing primarily the 4th of July could be correct. But I believe that this ordinance, that's as it's written, to be citywide, I haven't found favorable support in any other part of the city of the colleagues, my friends at work, and people I know that want something like this passed. They keep saying, this is only for the peninsula. And I say to them, no. In fact, some of them were here earlier for the zoning meeting. I asked them to stay, and they said, well, we got other things to do. I said, you need to hear this. This is your area. And they said, no, they're profiling West Newport Beach. And they left. So I want to say, the way this is written, and the way I understand the presentations, 8 or more people, if it's allowed, not necessarily unruly, gathering in Corona Del Mar, my professional renters that are there could get a ticket, could get a posting on our million-plus property house. And these people that are there are not those kind of people. Newport Coast could have the same issue. Other areas in West Newport Beach could have this issue. So I just want you to consider that, the way this is written. I really believe the posting of a house is a mistake. And the final word to leave you with, Chapman College in Orange. Before I moved to Newport, I lived there. The DAC procedure they have in Orange has been working, from what I understand in talking to the police department in Orange. They're making that work. Let me tell you from personal experience, having property in West Newport Beach, we have had problems having the police actually write a DAC. And when I asked this deputy city attorney what the issue is, he said, it's sometimes they have a more urgent call to go to, so instead of writing a DAC, they'll just give the people a verbal warning. And we know that from experience at our properties. I'm telling you, and I know other landlords are here that I hope are going to get up and speak, if you'll let us know there's an issue, we can deal with the issue. I really would like you to consider this a little more strongly. I'm in total support of doing something for the 4th of July. I and the other people that I know And I can tell you that it represents over 30 properties in West Newport Beach, over 30 properties. The people I've talked to are not for this. So, Mayor, I just wanted you to understand, there's a number of people who were at that study meeting. We were trying to improve this ordinance. We're not in support of it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Other comments?
Good evening, Mayor. My name is George Schroeder, and I've been a landlord since 1980. I've lived in Newport Beach since 1988. Currently, I have 12 people paying me rent. I'm a landlord. When this ordinance was first drafted, I was concerned how it might impact me. I have attended every public meeting. I was at the meeting on May 5th. And all I have to say is I think the red card is the only way this is going to work. All of my friends and residents who live in the area, most of the people we discuss this with on the West Newport Beach Association do support this. A person isn't going to get a citation. They're not going to get closed down for having 8 people at their house. They're not going to get closed down for having 10 people at their house drinking and playing some music. There's a whole list of things that the police are going to look for. We have a lot of problems with large party houses where there are, the items on here say obstruction of public streets. It says public drunkenness, service of alcohol to minors in possession of alcohol, assaults, batteries, fights, vandalism, urinating and defecating in public. These things happen at large party houses in Newport Beach. Okay, and we may have some property owners who like to rent them out by the week, and 25 or 30 people go there. They collect $3,000 or $4,000 a week, and they're concerned about their ability to do business. Most of the short-term property managers I do an extremely good job. They tell the people who want to come down here and live here for a week and enjoy the beach, there's a certain behavior that we expect you to behave in a reasonable and courteous manner to the people next door to you. We don't have that now, and the current DAC is not working. So I want to absolutely refute that the majority of the residents and owners don't support this. We do. We need help. And this, and also, I'm not concerned about, if I get a red tag on my building because I didn't do a good job with a tenant, that tenant is going to be out. And if it has to stay up for 6 months, it has to stay up. But it's going to make me be a more effective property manager. So we do support the ordinance. We'd like to see it go into effect. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Good evening, council members. My name is Craig Batley. I want to bring something to everyone's attention tonight. And I want to affirm on a certain section of this ordinance, 10.66.060, under I. I think part of the idea here was to provide some sort of a partnership with owners, with the police department, so that owners can cooperate with the police to eliminate some of this unruly behavior. And I just want to clarify what it says here. It says, any owner who does not reside within the residential unit and has included covenants within the written lease or rental agreement, i.e. maybe a short-term rental agreement, on which a loud or unruly gathering occurs, or that contains specific language prohibiting the activities described in this chapter, and demonstrated due diligence in abating the unmanageable tenants, which he probably can't do if he might be living in Washington State. Shall not be liable under this chapter. I'd like just a little bit of a point of clarification on that particular point. If you have a cooperating owner, is he going to be ticketed and or fined automatically?
If the owner is cooperating and actively trying to take care of the problem tenants, the intent is not to fine them. I think that will be left up to the police officer's discretion, but our goal is not to find that person that's actively working with us to solve that problem.
Is this something that would happen after the fact? I mean, the officer has to make a decision, especially on 4th of July, at a point in time. And most likely, he's going to rule based on the unruly action. So,
Lieutenant Hartford, maybe you want to comment on that?
I'm trying to determine the type of scenario that you're trying to work. In fact, let me bring this poster up and maybe I'll clarify it a little bit more. I apologize if the font's not large enough, but at the same time, this is where we get the loud and unruly gathering call for service. Our officer arrives, determines the resident is a loud and unruly gathering. It's a public nuisance. It's not 8 people having a glass of wine on their patio and laughing loudly. This is truly, thank you. This is truly a public nuisance, which is very well indicated throughout the proposed ordinance. The officer makes contact at this party. He determines that the individuals that are causing the unruly gathering, that are the problems, are individuals that are uninvited. They've made contact with the renter. They've determined that the individual that's causing the problem is not there as an invited guest. There will be no posting of the residence. The owner will not be sent a notice of a violation. The individual that's causing the uninvited individual causing the problem will receive the civil citation. The officer determines that the renter or owner is a responsible person. The residence will be posted, the responsible person are cited, and the party will be dispersed. Now, the owner who receives the notice of the violation by mail can seek relief from the fine and the posting per 10.66060I and J. Basically, that they're removing the responsible persons, the persons that caused the problem at the residence, that created the public nuisance. They're agreeing to have them removed from the property. They will not be fined, and if they can show that they have been removed, they can petition the chief of police to have the posting removed. I hope that covers Mr. Batley's concern. Did that address it, sir?
So on 4th of July, if there's a short-term lodging permit at a property and there's a vacation guest, let's say, at the property, and there's a big, huge party, and you cite them, you're going to red tag the house, you're going to do the whole process, and then after the fact, you sort things out.
Okay. If we determine the renter is one of the responsible persons that's unruly, is creating the public nuisance, correct. The location will be posted, the party will be dispersed, and the notice will be sent to the owner.
Even if the owner has included in his lease agreement notice that the tenant or the short-term lodger is not supposed to do this?
Well, as mentioned, if you read 10.66060I and J, if that individual is removed, and we've obviously provided some language that the owners can utilize in their lease contracts that allow them to do that the posting will come down.
And there'll be no repercussion against the owner?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Particularly in the case of a short-term renter, if you can show that that renter is no longer at the property, you've got almost a prima facie case to have the notice taken down.
By definition, they'll probably be gone anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other public comment on this item?
Barbara Tolman. The safety enhancement zone, I think that should be defined. If you read this ordinance, I know what it is, but no one else will know what it is. And there's different fines for the civil and the safety enhancement zone. This is 10.66060, number B.
Mm-hmm. So
it is defined. It's in another section of the code that exists already. So everyone.
So you'd have to read the other code.
Well, that's how our codes work. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So then you need to read all the codes to know what this.
Well, you just need to find the reference to this other code.
Actually, I would be surprised if the people in the safety enhancement zone today don't know they're in the zone. It's been in place for long enough, and I think it's a serious enough activity that is fairly well known. But we'd be happy to help make that more easily available to folks on the
To
website
everyone.
potentially.
Yeah, okay. It's just a niche. I mean, you know, you can do it, you don't have to do it. My concern is the revocation permit. In some instances, the summer winter rentals supplement the income for retirees or individuals, property owners. 3 in 24 months may be unreasonable. If you do weekly, yearly rentals, you have a possibility of 104 tenants. So 3 for 104 tenants in 24 months is a little unreasonable. And if you do summer, you have 10 weeks, and then you have the winter, which would be 22 tenants. I believe if the owner has complied with property written documentation and has notified tenants in writing and worked with the neighbors, owners should not be held responsible and have their permit revoked. Also, if you have the tenants, the winter tenants, if you evict them, if you do this, does it go back to zero? The revocation permit? If you got rid of the tenants that are causing this?
So are you talking about the DAC now, or the posting of the red tag?
She's asked, I think, about the clock on your fines, because if you get a multiple fines after you've already evicted the guy who was the problem.
Does the clock start again then? That's what you're asking?
Yes, like
All right.
if you have a 9-month tenant and they're a problem, you get 2 and you evict them because my lease is going to show that, then does it go back to zero? Or if someone else moves in, is it the third? In a 24-month period, that's a long time.
David?
If the lease reflects the terms of the ordinance, and if the landowner, the owner, is taking reasonable steps in order to enforce the aspects of the ordinance to keep their home from becoming a public nuisance, they're not going to be fined. They're specifically exempted from the findings
No,
of the
but
ordinance.
she's talking about the provision that requires revocation of the...
I understand. And so the purpose of that provision then is it's not currently set up so that it goes back to zero. The requirement is that the landowner needs to operate their home in a manner that's responsible to the community. And no, there's no going back or re-zeroing it.
However, if you do evict the tenant, you are cooperating. And again, if you have 104 tenants in a 24-month period, or 22 in a 24-month period, that's a lot.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Mark Simon. I reside at 2420 First Avenue in Corona Del Mar. Just like to make 3 quick points. I think that the ordinance, as you're discussing it now, leaves way too much discretion in the individual officer who responds at the site's hands to determine whether the house is going to get a scarlet letter or not. It's too arbitrary. It's going to leave the city open for lawsuits. I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor since 1983. I sell a lot of income properties here in town. This is going to make income properties more difficult to sell. It's going to lower prices. And the third thing is, are we going to be doing this at high school parties? Corona Del Mar High School student has a party. There's over 8 underage kids there drinking. Is that parent's house going to get a scarlet letter? Are all those kids in the party going to get a $500 fine?
It potentially could, yes. If it's loud and unruly, it could.
I mean, if I may make a few comments and maybe kind of give some perspective of how this came about and how we intend to use this at the police department, and hopefully calm some nerves on this. Obviously, at the core of the issue here is we have a culture, a reputation of this is a party town, and we have a lot of parties here that get out of control and become a big problem for the community as well as for us, the police department. Part of the problem is there are a few owners, property owners, that are not responsible. And they rely on the police department to be their security guards, to guard their house for them, and to essentially help manage their house for them, right? Manage their property for them at taxpayer expense. That's not what we're designed. That's not what we're in the business to do. What this unruly gathering does for us, for me, it's another tool in the toolbox. However, it is a hammer in that toolbox. It's another tool in the toolbox that we plan to use. We plan to use that hammer during those occasions where there are those extreme, loud, unruly gatherings. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the bunco game and the gals get a little out of hand because someone had the high score or whatever. I don't know how that game works, but nonetheless, it's for the real, true parties. The kegers where you have the people urinating and defecating on the neighbors' front lawns. You know what I'm talking about, the bad parties that we have in the city from time to time. Additionally, there's the hammer, the threat of that hammer is a big deterrent that we're hoping to use as well. I do not want to see red tags up in the city, just like some of you don't want to see those. I'm not looking forward to those. However, a responsible property owner will not have to worry about that. A responsible property owner will not have those red tags up. Those red tags will come down quicker than they go up if you're a responsible property owner. For a red tag to stay up for that 180 days, that means there's a very irresponsible owner there. That's the only way that's going to happen. And the way this works is if there is an issue, what I've directed my staff to do if this passes, if there is a party, it's not just any officer that's going to go up and cite this person or put the red tag up. I'm requiring a supervisor respond. I'm requiring that it's videotaped. We have videotapes in each of the sergeant's cars. I'm requiring the sergeants to videotape the party, that the sergeant working with that officer decides if this rises to the level of a red tag in the house. Because believe me, I take that very seriously. A red tag is a big deal. That's the big hammer for us. And it's not going to be used at every other house. It's going to be used for those big parties where they need to be used. And if there is a responsible owner who was not aware of the party but did his due diligence in trying to do the right thing and rent to the right people, and it's in his lease agreement and so on and so forth, and tells me, hey, this is what I've done, Chief, and we're trying to fix this, we want to work with you, that's coming off that next day, the day I talked to you about that. And it's not going to stay up there because I don't want to see those throughout the city either. But I'd like to have that tool in the toolbox. I'd like to have that hammer to have, if anything else, a threat so that people know, you know what, we're changing the culture here. We're not going to allow us to be the party town and you do whatever you want, and it's a police department's responsibility to clean it up, because it's not. It's not my property. It's your property, and it's your responsibility to ensure that those things don't happen. And we'll certainly work with you to help you with that, because I know that you sometimes need police department help, but we're going to work with you. We're not going to work and do the job ourselves. And that's essentially what this ordinance is about, and hopefully that can help a little bit nervous about this.
Chief, question, there's talk about the peninsula. First off, this ordinance was not designed just for the 4th of July. This is in fact, as it was stated earlier, 365 days a year. Do we have party problems elsewhere than the peninsula in our city?
Sure. From time to time, we have parties all over in the city.
But I mean parties that are egregious, that rise to the level of consideration of this ordinance.
I'm going to confer to someone who's worked the streets here before.
We do, Your Honor. And we had a well-known individual approximately 10 years ago that resided in the west side of town. And it cost us some considerable problems for almost a year and a half, where we probably expended tens of thousands, if not hundred thousands of dollars of resources trying to abate the problem, which eventually solved itself. There isn't anything that wouldn't prohibit that individual to move anywhere else, rent a location on the other side of town, and continue that type of activity. I think if we had this ordinance in place, we would have been able to stop that type of activity within a 60-day period. Especially if you look at the codicils of responsible persons. What we're allowed to do now is target the party goer, the person that's actually causing the party. And we've actually built in relief for the person that actually rents the property, as well as the owner, saying if this is an uninvited guest that's causing a problem, we'll cite that individual, we'll disperse the party, and we're not going to hold you responsible for it. But at the same time, if the renter's part of the problem is contributing to the situation, certainly we are, and we are going to post that red tag. We do have. I've worked here for almost 28 years, and yes, I've gone to just as large parties on the east side of town as I have on the west side of town.
Okay.
I have a question, and I can appreciate that there's sort of a troubled individual in our community, but I don't really see how we should be adopting a sweeping public policy because we have a troubled individual. My question is more specific. Within Bellport, One Fort Road, East Bluff, the Bluffs, have there been any quote-unquote loud and unruly parties that you've had to respond to?
I've gone to once in Balboa Island, Harborview Homes, a full block where we pulled up and the whole block is full of individuals, certainly.
So what happens in that case? I mean, there are people in our community, I mean, they're really law-abiding citizens, and once a year they want to have a block party, and the city's going to go and give a potentially $8,000 fines?
And Council Member, I'm referring back to the ordinances, and as the Chiefs mentioned, we're truly looking for a public nuisance. This is a public nuisance, and as the Chief mentioned, we're going to require a supervisor respond to the scene, videotape it, and are we dealing with a true public nuisance that has all those violations listed in the ordinance, or as you mentioned, are we dealing with a block party or a high school graduation or something to that extent, where a neighbor's called, says we've got a lot of kids out in the street, they're yelling and screaming because they graduated from high school. That's not a public nuisance. That's some kids enjoying themselves. Obviously, we're going to make contact with the parents, indicate that some of the residents can't get their cars out or whatever the case may be, and to help us try to adjudicate the situation and provide safety for those individuals that are there. It's truly, the ordinance is designed to address a public nuisance.
All right, do we have any other public comment here?
Good evening. My name is Carmen Rosso. And the comment I have is regarding the red posting. I would rather see it when there is a second response, when you have a long-term tenant. Sometimes there is a first response, and I will be a little bit hesitant to evict them just because they have one response. And I guess the definition between unruly party gathering, when do you use the DAC versus when do you use this ordinance, is not clear. To me, it's a gray area. If I have more than 8 people and they're having a party and I send them an email, I contact their parents, and then I don't have any other problems, according to this, I will have this red tag in my house for 180 days. When now the tenants are no problems, and I talk to the neighbors and say, no, they are quiet. So it's like, why couldn't the tag be done on a second response? So then in item, have to get my glasses, 1066-050C, item 9, again, it talks about the lien. I think the notification to the owner, maybe we could have a 9A and 9B. The notification to the owner may talk about a lien. The notification to the person, responsible person, then should talk about maybe, we are going to contact about your credit report or notify the credit report agencies, because that will have more meaning for them than the lien. Then in item 1066-050B, at the beginning of the item says service by personnel service. The previous version of this document says service by personnel delivery, so maybe that's a typo. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Honorable Council, Mark Rogers, Property Administrator at Park Newport Apartments. We have a history of cooperation with the department and with the city. We pay tax on 1,306 apartments. We have a mechanism and mechanisms in place to address these kinds of problems, and I don't support the implementation of a universal mechanism to help police tenants that are otherwise fairly well maintained through our own existing mechanisms. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for discussion and a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Curry.
Well, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. I got a lot of comfort from the chief's comments that he's got a game plan about specific types of activity that are going to be targeted here, and I know this is an important issue that you've been focused on. It's an important issue to the people on the peninsula. And I think I come down on the side of thinking that we need to do something that gives them the tools to address that issue. Now, I do happen to agree with the comments from the Apartment Association. Our goal here is to solve problems. It's not to affect the values of property, and I think we can put a black and white notice for 90 days on property and achieve the same thing without having a big fluorescent orange sign. Tucson is not a place I look to for modern legislation. So I think we need to be mindful of the aesthetics and the effects on property values. So if we can, and I believe that their concerns about liens and all of that are appropriately addressed, it sounds like, from the city attorney in the way that the Apartment Association intended them to be addressed. So if we can incorporate the black and white 90-day notice into this as part of this proposal, I'll be prepared to support it.
You're suggesting in place of the 180-day?
180 days, right.
Okay. Do we have any other comment from council?
I guess I'm still a little concerned about the level of the fees, fines during the safety enhancement zone period, and I guess I would prefer to see it a little moderated. I mean, $8,000 is, even for a loud party and fourth offense, I think it's a lot of money, and I just don't see the police handing out $8,000 tickets. So I could support $1,500 and then $3,000 for each subsequent violation.
I'm sorry, is that so no increase over the ordinary time period? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying for the first violation, during the safety enhancement zone would be $1,500, as it's stated in number B1 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But for 2, 3, and 4, it would be capped at $3,000.
Okay. Any other comments? Councilman Verselich.
Yeah, I won't be supporting the ordinance. I did a survey in my district, and the people that responded to the survey, it's not scientific, but the people that responded to the survey felt it was overkill, didn't feel that it needed to be applied to their area. I'm not in favor of posting properties with cards. I think that devalues property. You can be an innocent property owner next door to a violating property, and your property gets devalued by having these cards posted. As I said, I'm opposed to it being applied citywide. I stated that previously. And I guess the one thing that really bothers me, I just think there's a lack of quantitative standards for the police department. And although, Chief, I respect your intent and all the statements you've made here today, I just think it's just giving too much power to the police department without having some quantitative standards to adhere to. So I don't think there's going to be any motions or amendments up here to bring it to the level that I'd be satisfied with, so I'll be opposing it.
Okay. Any other comments? Councilman Rosansky, did you have a comment?
No.
Oh, your light's on. All right. Well, having heard the comments, I'd like to make the following motion, that we approve the ordinance as recommended in the staff report, modified to include not a fluorescent sign, but a black and white notice, and that the notice be posted for 90 days, not 180 days, and that the fines be capped as Councilmember Rosansky has requested in the safety enhancement zone at $3,000.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further comment? Okay, please vote.
With council members Selich and Daigle voting no, the motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. And that brings us to motions for reconsideration.
A motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the city council out of this meeting or the previous meeting may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
All right, any motions for reconsideration? Seeing none, we are adjourned.